So I'm not a car person. I have a
Me
Jeep.
neither.
I don't know what kind of Jeep it is. It's navy blue. So
That's
like
four
this
wheels.
was, this was like, I really thought about this, right? So I chose a Ford Bronco, and I looked up on the Ford website. It said, in an ever-changing world, our sense of purpose is constant. We honor our legacy as we build a future, a better world for generations to come. And I thought, well, I mean, that is very similar to the way that I feel about Grosse Pointe Public Schools. The personality of the car is classic with roots in Grosse Pointe, coincidentally. It's innovative, it's accessible for all, and it's not without controversy. And I think that it just has a classic feel, much like our community and school district.
I chose a 1961 Lincoln Continental. And the reason I chose that car is it has timeless design, and it has room for plenty of people, far more than just the driver. And that's really where we're at right now. Thank you.
I chose a Jeep too, as well. I was thinking, I like the idea of a Jeep because it can get over any obstacle, like it, four-wheel drive, it can, it's virtually unstoppable, strong, reliable SUV. I'm not a very big car person, so I apologize. I have a very strong emotional car attachment, but
Good job. I'm not a huge car person either, believe it or not, but in my family who works for GM would not want me to say this, but I picked a Ford F-150. And the reason I picked Ford was because Ford is a family, and I think that Grosse Pointe, the school district, is also a family. The F-150 I chose because the F-150 is the backbone of Ford Motor Company. The F-150 does $42 billion a year in sales. The rest of Ford's lineup does $40 billion in sales. So while Grosse Pointe has so many different amenities that you would want to live here, it is the school district that is the backbone of this community. I also picked Ford and the F-150 because I feel like the F-150
design, like our school district, exceptional education. Design create emotion, enthusiasm, fascination, and thrills. And how does this car make me feel? Accomplished. One word encompassing quality education while enjoying learning. Mutual respect between me and the vehicle. Getting me and my passengers safe and sound to the intended destination. And me, in turn, taking proper care of the vehicle for optimum performance. All the while feeling a range of emotions and mental clarity from happy, grateful, fun, excited, engaged, focused, safe, and sound. Thank you.
And I also went with the car I drive, which is a Ford Escape. So Ford in general, it feels like that's been a constant theme. One of the big three is local ties with global reach. And that's just any student that goes through the district. You're nurtured here and then you're given to the world and you're ready to thrive. Ford has some luxury cars, but it's also accessible. So you can either choose which route you want to go. For me, when I think of the district, I get a sense of nostalgia, and same thing with Ford Escape. That was my very first car. I found it right outside of Grosse Pointe South after I took the SAT, bought it the same day, and that lasted me through high school, college, and partway through my first job. So if I could make that car live forever, I would make it live forever. It was pretty amazing. So it's reliable, it's strong. Some of the newer models, they had some bumps along the way, but Ford seemed to smooth them out, and I bought another one a few years ago, and so far so good. But it just, when you think of Grosse Pointe and the schools, it reminds you of home, and it reminds you of your roots.
I'm not a car person, so this was not easy. So I chose the car I drive, which is Ford Explorer. And I chose it because it's practical, it's very useful, it's familiar, it's been around for a long time. I'm not sure how long I didn't do any research. But people know, they know what an Explorer is. And he has some updated features, or the ability to have some updated features, but I think it was to the point that you made, there is also an opportunity for things that we don't have. And it also, like the Ford Explorer, it's had history and longevity, but it's also had some bumps on the way. You guys remember the Firestone incident? I don't remember that, I think '90s, but they overcame that, and so, as we could, some things we're dealing with. Personality, the personality traits here, grounded, trustworthy, competent, dependable, like the education you have here. And then I know one of the questions in there was, how does it make me feel? It just makes me feel covered. My word.
I went with a Buick Enclave. Still wanted to stick in line with the big three, but wanted something somewhat attainable too. Keep it a luxury car, but it didn't have to be in the Cadillac area. So, you know, you use friends and family discount, use a couple of coupons, we can get ourselves into a Buick Enclave. It's large and spacious, and so it's got all of the amenities in there, new technologies for people to feel comforted, people to feel safe. Also, at the same time, I think it was important to note that Buick, for a long time, they had a perception issue too, where people always felt like it was for a certain type of person, maybe the senior citizens out there. You know, a Buick is only for senior citizens, and I remember they had this great campaign maybe 10, 15 years ago, and you know, they were trying to, I think in the commercial, they're like, you don't want a Buick, that's an old person's car. And you should, what's that? Yeah, not your father's Buick, that's exactly what it was. And I think that's exactly what we're all trying to do too, you know, saying, no, it's actually for everybody, trying to bring in younger families that way. So that's why I wanted to stick with Buick.
I want to hear Taylor's.
1 second. I apologize for my tardiness.
It's okay. Great to see you.
Yeah. I had the Girl Scouts that deferred. They took a little longer. They dropped a lot of beads on the floor, so we had to clean them. Okay, so obviously I said I was doing a mini dance, you guys remember, I don't know if you do, but I made this. So this was like kind of like one of those fun little things I was thinking, like what would be like saying the right message for the kids. I talked to the kids, got some feedback, but a lot of the words that they used I really loved, because I was like, think of a teacher, like your first teacher that you had that like you just adored. What did they do in the system that like resonated with you and like spoke to your heart? Like, what color is our car? And the kids were like, it's yellow because it's happy, which I thought was the best. And one kid said it was a color that could end up being a rainbow when you add different tones in it, which I thought was great. And here's some of the words they had. The little things. So they shared like, it's all about the little things that happen in the classroom on the day-by-day basis with the teacher interacting with the kid. What little teeny things are they experiencing that's helping them? And they actually picked this image when I was like, I got a few of them that were super into it. And I had the idea of a van, and they liked this image because they liked how the kids are on top of the car and like soaring and reaching their highest potential. We also have that it's inspiring, it's shining, it's igniting them in ways they didn't know. And I loved, somebody had shared just the word tenacity resonated with me personally, because they said, I didn't believe in myself and my teacher did. And it taught me that even when I don't believe in myself, that other people can believe in me, and that it taught me to believe in myself. So it just really like made me think about that tenacity. And also good vibes, they said fun, empowered, limitless, and school rules. And then I thought from the teacher perspective, this van was pretty great because it's like it's at the beach, it's camping, right? It can accommodate all sorts of things because whatever is dropped off at your doorstep, right, at the middle school, the high school, the elementary, you teach. And then they're simply picked up after and taken away. And so you get one little moment and a little snapshot in that kid's day, and what do you do with that day? And what is our brand in our time with those learners? And that on top of all the different things that teachers juggle and persevere through, I thought that was kind of my take.
Good. Everybody accomplished their homework?
What?
Everybody get an A?
Yes, we all got A's. But I'd like to, if we could just go back to the Google Forms and form one.
Yeah, sure.
So, I think after the meeting, we're gonna be sending out a link to this,
Yes.
document. So we'll be sending a link to this document, and please put your name, your make, your model, and then your reasons in there.
Could you add that column about, like, are you from Grosse Pointe, are you looking to the area, just to kind of define, I think that the definition of the citizen helps the perception of the vehicle in the district.
Yeah, you can put that in your reasons there, absolutely. We can add that right in there. This is really not for the district as it is for the chosen firm. This is all written for the chosen firm to better understand who we are, what are our strengths, what makes us great, what are our characteristics, things that we can work on. This group is a representative, strong representative of our community. And this total document, once it's all in there, will be an enormous, wonderful resource for the chosen firm to really better understand our district and what makes us tick. So please fill this out when you get a chance. I would appreciate it. You're awesome. Thank you. All right. Thank you again for presenting all your reasons and excellent discussion.
So next, so this elevator pitch, this is what came up in our first meeting. I think it's sort of a cross between a mission statement or a vision, or it's our elevator pitch. And what we're gonna do is adopt one of the ones that was given as what we're gonna put out on the website for our subcommittee. So if we could go through these, I think we got 4 or 5.
Yeah, as they came in, I put in the presentation.
We'll just go through yours, Ted.
Yeah, you can grade it. I don't really need to grade it for you. There's actually better ones out there.
Oh, you vote for someone else's?
Yes, I want to vote for one. Honestly, this is like you're running for class office. I'm not voting for myself. This is okay, but when I read your first one, I liked it. The only thing I read through some of them, getting away from mine, and this is not a rebranding. So in the ones that have rebranding, we don't have a brand. We're not rebranding the district. There's no clear brand for the district. There's no comprehensive brand campaign that's ever been done in the district. So when you see the word rebrand, just use the word brand in future ones of these. But if you like this one, that's fine. This is kind of the nuts and bolts as I see. The purpose of our subcommittee is really to showcase the characteristics and their charm, to be able to increase positive feelings, and overall enrollment's going to increase by doing all these other things that we're doing with this brand campaign. So if this was the new student enrollment campaign, we would come up with strategies to increase enrollment. And those strategies would ultimately fail because you have to increase positive perceptions at all levels. You have to increase positive perceptions internally, staff, teachers, students, parents. All those people have to be feeling good because a brand can come out and be X, and people will look at it and say, "Oh, teacher Y, what do you think about this brand campaign?" Well, not so good. So people have to be on board. There have to be ambassadors throughout the district. People have to feel good about the campaign and good about their jobs, good about their district, good about the classrooms and the teachers. And the students, of course, have to feel good about their education, the alumni. Once we establish that broad strokes, then everything lifts up, right? Everything lifts up. So, as Brian would say, the answer is always that. Everything would lift up. Your image, your reputation, your student enrollment, business practices would improve, leadership decisions would improve. Everything would be based on that particular brand and how it impacts. Now, I've seen it done at the higher education level, and I've been asked by people who are on this table, how does that work with K through 12? It does. It works at General Motors, it works at Ford, it works at Jeep, it works at IBM, it works at any entity, whether you're any organization. Having a strong brand will lift up everything in that organization. And it doesn't matter if it's higher education or K through 12 district. It's the same concept that we teach in college, that this is what branding can do. It's so strong and so incredible, and the process is the one that we're going through right now. So that's what I tried to get through here, and I don't know if I was successful, but you'll see some other ones that are very, very good.
That's a lot. I went a little overboard, I think, on like specifying like what branding would look like. But, you know, this was inspired by Ryan and I's conversation on the car ride home after our last meeting, where we were trying to come up with some imagery or words to define sort of the feeling that we have as Grosse Pointers, and how we could convey that to a greater population. And so one of the things that I had thought about on my walk is all the different niches in Grosse Pointe and all the hidden pathways and all of the excitement that it brings to be in our school system and in our community. So I was trying to bridge sort of the community draw with the school draw, which is just around every corner. There's something exciting happening in our buildings, in our classrooms, in our community, you know, whether it's, you know, public festivals and bands and concerts, or just seeing a sunrise, or, you know, walking into a classroom and seeing some teachers doing amazing things. Just all the things that we could explore as part of, you know, what we want to say about our community, and that it's vibrant. There's a lot going on, and a lot of positive energy. And despite what you might hear here or there, I think everyone's really excited to be here and be a part of this community, and we want to see it thrive. And so my idea was just something that conveys what it's like to be here, and just to know that, you know, something unexpected, fun, exciting is just around the corner, at a band concert or in an art room or an art show, or all of the exciting sports that we have. You can show up at any field and see a great game. That's kind of what I said in a lot of words, is what I wanted to convey, is that it's a great place to be, and we need to communicate that to everybody. So that's where I landed.
No, very well.
So I put different pictures together with different focuses, to see if we could just categorize where we're coming from. So this one is new community focus, and it's, you can read it for yourselves, but it's that's the angle of why we're doing this. So I'm always imagining when you're running into somebody at Trader Joe's, or you're scurrying into Kroger to get butter, which always happens when I'm getting some butter or getting some deli meat and talking to some random person from school. How can we quickly say something to somebody? And what was important to me about the community focus aspect was, it's not just a logo change, it's how do you invite the rest of the community members to the table and talk about Grosse Pointe as a community, as a school district. So this is more of the angle of the community and why we're doing it, to answer that question. And then if we're talking about economic reasons and enrollment focus, this is the other angle. You know, in the face of declining enrollment, which is a reality, and economic challenges, and I put in local and national, read and write is not a rebranding, it's a branding. It's a proactive step towards revitalization. It's more about not just attracting new families, it's about pride and reigniting the spirit of what we have today. By enhancing our brand, we open doors to new possibilities for funding. I put funding in there because let's call a spade a spade. A lot of what funds the school, I don't think a lot of community members realize at all. Grant writing. How do we get different, even COVID struck, like how do we get those funds? What did it take to get things? And I really want to have this campaign, that what we do with the agency, somehow remind the community how intricate the school district is. And it's not fun right now having a slim admin system group. As a parent, I mean, I know what goes on behind the scenes to run a district, and we're slim right now. And everyone should be really thinking central office or keeping it all together. So I also included the word investment, because I think we also forget about in the larger community, with all due respect, who don't have children in the system, because I've heard the term 80% quite a bit. 80% of the community in the points do not have kids in the school system, yet they fund our schools, which is, I'm thankful for that, but it is an investment. If we don't have a strong school system, you will not sell your house. You will not be able to do anything in terms of growing a community. I also made an economic focus because what was important to me, in a former life, I lived out in New Buffalo and I was the president of our business association, and I learned a lot about commercial and residential taxes. New Buffalo is different. They have a lot of money for the school district from vacation homes and the casino. But what we don't have, that I people also forget, Troy and Novi, they have commercial taxes. We don't have many of them. We are considered a bedroom community. Commercial taxes also funds things. That's why, I don't know what the apples to apples comparison is, but I think an economic play as to where we're located next to Detroit is being lost. And I think we need to hone in on that. So that's why I put in an economic play that we can glean from. And then unifying the community. Sorry again, for returning. But this was a unifying kind of proactive vision because we've gone through a lot of challenges in this district, emotional challenges, and this should also actually say the 5 Grosse Pointes in Harper Woods. That's a mistake on my part. It's just about how we update things and how we preserve our legacy and build on it for generations to come. I think people also forget that many folks who live here, especially newbies like myself, respect and understand the history of where this place came from and how it was derived. And I think that needs to be protected, but also weaving in some progress in future skill sets that these wonderful ladies are going to need when they leave the points of the Detroit area and go out to the world. So how do we mesh those two things together?
Oh, am I supposed to?
You're up. You're up, Sierra.
So, I'm pretty simple. And I'm 64, and I'm saying that for a reason. I'm 64 years old. My teachers who lived here that were African American, and I lived in Highland Park, but we had one teacher that lived here. We never knew that she lived here. And her children are all very successful. All of my friends from here are very successful. And the one thing that they talk about that's at the backbone of it is this expectation of excellence. From the parents having that of their children, the teachers having that, the administrators having that. I went to Highland Park High School and I never thought that I would ever graduate from Wayne State University and end up retiring at $130,000 a year. Not from where I come from. And that was because I was focused. I was determined. And so for me, and I do get this a lot, being on council, and just all the different boards and stuff I serve on, and I get conversation about the school district. And I simply say, what I remember as a young woman is that the Grosse Pointe School District was a school district of excellence. It had a standard of excellence. I hear that today, and I remind people when they're complaining, just pause for a moment and think about where you are and what you have. And I hear such wonderful things about the teachers in the school district, and the times that I have walked through the halls, because I'm working on a project with the Family Center. The administrative staff is just so open and inviting, and then you walk into a classroom and you can hear a pin drop. See, that's my experience. So for me, it's intentionally and thoughtfully, meaning considering everyone, identifying the district's relevancy. We know that if something is relevant, it will survive. Of being a school district historically known as having a standard of excellence in education.
So I approach this as if I'm in the elevator with you, I've got 30 seconds before we go to the fifth floor, this is what I'm gonna tell you if they say, oh, hey, I heard you're on that committee. And I wrote this intentionally this way, because the way I have the Grosse Pointe public school systems, because that's something that I feel like every communication I got from my kids is GPPSS, nobody talks like that, right? Nobody says this whole thing, so I've worked on branding, rebranding campaigns and such, where we didn't change the name of the company, but we changed the way we refer to the company or the organization, so I put that in there, rebranding, okay, branding. Proactively, that was an intentional word, we're proactively, not reactively, we're not reacting to people. Shaping the publics, and when we say publics, you have many publics, right? Your publics are defined by a shared connection to something, so there's different publics, but your public's understanding and perception of the district, so their understanding, so those facts and those things that we're telling them, and also their perception, how they perceive what we're sharing. Helping to recruit and retain, because, for enrollment purposes, and build affinity with alumni and donors, and when you build affinity, that's that advocacy or that ambassador that we talked about, and the Grosse Pointe Harbor Woods community. And then the branding itself will showcase the image and reputation of the district by telling the stories and showcasing our strengths, and then building awareness for how it's an excellent choice for families.
Very good. Excellent.
I think that was it.
Ted, I think we should send all these with the cars to the company. And also-
To the chosen firm, you mean?
Yeah,
Yes, okay, check that.
and
That's
also
fine.
will help them.
Yeah, it would help me if you could take the three and make them into one. If you could
Yes.
take your three and make them into one.
I could do that.
Because that would be good. They're both very strong, all of them are strong.
I'll do
But
that
I'd like to
one
see
with-
the three,
Yeah.
because branding's about narrow, it's not about wide.
Yep.
And so we want to make sure that those get to the chosen firm. Thank you, appreciate that.
May I also, I'm sorry I did not get to mail in before this, but may I send the pitch to you and fine? Because I think the one thing, I think these are excellent. The one thing I just wanted to go over, and having a sense of authenticity and actually accurately reflecting the experience, I think will also be critical here. Because the people that I do talk to are like, oh, you're on this brand thing. Like, this isn't necessarily about smoke and mirrors. This really has to be about, amplifying and showcasing. There's a lot of those words are in there, but I think it's an important point to punctuate that this is not about manipulating or altering or sugarcoating. If any branding effort I've been involved in my career, the ones that are authentic, the ones that are well done are authentic and accurately reflect an experience. The ones that are putting, crass expression, but lipstick on a pig, is when they fall down, that is a Michael Scott, The Office, trust-falling corporate farce, So I think it's really important that we all make sure that that's the understanding community, because I think that's a fear that I encounter when I talk to people.
So make no mistake, this is about clarifying who we are.
Mhm.
It's not about
Yes.
creating a brand, it's to clarify it. We know who we are. We just need to identify that and come up with common threads. So the idea with the branding process and where we're going with all of this is that there'll be lots of research that this chosen firm will do. And from that chosen research, they're gonna look for key threads. So what students said, what teachers say, what administrators say, they're gonna look for all of that, there's hundreds of pages of research, and they're gonna look for those key threads. And those key threads, they're gonna weave them together. And that becomes the brand. It's clarifying who we already think we are, and just narrowing it down. And that will become the overwhelming, comprehensive brand campaign for the district. That's gonna be so exciting because it's really gonna do everything we need it to do. It's gonna make people feel better about the district, and that's the number one thing that we can do with brand.
But I think you're spot on. We talked about this at the last meeting, people asked any challenges about what's this committee, exactly why we need this, to explain quickly like what the purpose of this is. So I'm not glad that you had that piece of feedback, but it kind of confirms the same experience I've been having. So it's nice, it's not nice, but it's good that someone else is experiencing a bit of that as well.
Yeah, apologize, I missed the last meeting.
No, it's fine, life.
So we're gonna figure out a way I'll work with Dr. Stanley to a voting mechanism, and we'll put that together and post it there. And I think, and Ms. Vassar here is putting together all of our communications, documenting them for the committee, and we can also work on getting all of them out. thank you for that.
All right, RFP review.
Maybe make that bigger,
Yeah,
a lot bigger.
yeah.
So do you want me to kind of go through the process of this, how it got started to be? Okay, so, to pick each firm, we have to have what's called an RFP, request for proposals. Request for quotes, there's lots of different ways of doing it, but this is a request for proposal. Difference between a request for quote is you're just looking for a price. We're not looking for a price. That's not what we're looking for. We're looking for a proposal, and the difference is that a proposal has lots of things in it that we're looking for. We're looking for their ideas, their vision of what this brand campaign would be, their recommendations on what would be the execution of the campaign. There's so many things that we're looking for. So typically, the RFP process is that we put together a RFP, a proposal, for them to create their proposals, right? So what we're looking for here is sort of an introduction of who Grosse Pointe Public School System is. They're gonna find it out anyway, because they're gonna go on the website, they're gonna look all that. But we wanna clearly define who we are in just a couple of paragraphs, and why we're doing this. So we come up with some definite language that just kind of defines who we are and our mission, and then we talk about that a little bit. And then we have a paragraph here about sort of the, unfortunately, this is where we're at. This is why we need the brand campaign. If we didn't have this paragraph, then we didn't need a brand campaign. We don't need your help really, because we're moving forward and we're doing great. So things that I need to be improved. We lost 2,000 students. That's a fact. That's not going to change. We've cut the budget millions and millions of dollars. We've cut 2 schools. We've cut teachers and staff. So it's not all doom and gloom, but there are facts that we need to share with the brand companies that are going to be reviewing this and bidding, so they know where we're at in life and where we're at in the history of our district. And this is why we need the brand campaign. It's not a new student enrollment campaign. There's a huge difference between new student enrollment campaign and brand campaign. Brand campaigns are much more broader, much more comprehensive, and will do much more for the district than a simple new student enrollment campaign. So, we're going to use the scope of the services. This is what we're looking for. We're looking for one firm to be chosen. And I'll back up a little bit. Michelle and some of the others have given us a lot of, Maggie too, and you have given us, a lot of people have given us suggestions. We've taken almost every suggestion and made them. So you'll see that reflected here. This is the first one that was reflected. So it's preferred but not required that the selected firm has experience with K-12 branding campaigns. We were looking for that to be more firm, but we changed it based on the comments that we received. So there were lots of feedback that we got from the committee. All of those changes, or almost all of those changes, have been made. They're going to be working with our brand campaign. The chosen firm will be working with the leadership. They'll be working with the Board of Education, so that's Sean and his comrades, and this committee. So we purposely put it in the RFP. This committee is important. This committee will review all of the RFPs that come in. We will review them as a group. We will decide as a group which one we prefer, and then we will submit that to Dr. Fenton and Sean and leadership teams for consideration. They will choose. We're just recommending. But to make that recommendation is huge. That's a big deal, and we're going to make that. So that's how important this committee is, that we're going to be doing the RFP reviews. And they're going to be doing RFP reviews too, but this is the group that's going to have the recommendation. So what is the firm going to be doing? So if you're a firm that's going to be responding to this, you're going to look at what's needed. So research methodology. So we're looking for you, as the firm, to do a deep dive on our historical and current documents. So looking at the history of the district, where we're at today, web, social media, all of that. Do a competitive analysis. So who are we competing against? Obviously, we're not competing against other districts per se, because we are not an open district, and we don't accept students from outside the community. So what is our competitive analysis? Private schools, Catholic schools, homeschooling, parents leaving the district. So all of those things will be looked at. New research, so we're asking them to do quantitative and qualitative. Quantitative is, again, the surveying and wide analysis. Qualitative is focus groups, one-on-one interviews with leadership and other people, maybe people around this table. People who are teachers, people who are students, parents, all of the different stakeholders we're going to be interviewing and talking to them. And then we're going to be identifying the target audiences. Again, target audiences and stakeholders are similar, a little bit different, but we're going to be looking at our stakeholders and our target audiences and non-target audiences, those in the community that you mentioned that are 80% that don't have any stake in the district, other than that, there's all of them they're calling. So we'll be looking at them as well and what their expectations are. So they're going to be putting together a brand identity, so a brand option, so a brand promise. So they're going to be putting options together for what is those words. The brand campaign is not just the slogan, right? It's much more than that, but it's part of that. And so they'll give us options. They'll give us the brand positioning. So why did they choose that particular brand promise? And all of the positioning, all of the methodology and research behind it. Key messaging. So those would be great for you. Those are a gift that keeps on giving for the communicator for the district, because I follow that, and I work for the University of Michigan, and we have our message, and we follow it every day on social media. We use it in our emails, and our newsletters, and our website, and everything. You're going to love it. It's going to be it's going to be this huge package gift for you. And then identity guidelines. So that'll be also a gift for you. So how to use certain words, how to use the identification of designs, all that will be spelled out. And so supporting overall design, look and feel, and then brand personas. So what are the different kinds of students that are here? What are the different kinds of teachers and parents? Brand personas. What are the personas of our district? A list of recommendations for moving the marketing communications forward. Again, huge gift for you. So what they're going to do is gift wrap this whole list of recommendations that come to you and say, this is what you should be doing in the next year to 2 years, 3 years. This is how we should be going forward to carry the campaign forward. And then there's also going to be discussion among the board and Chris and his leadership team about how do we move the brand campaign forward, what's those costs. Those will be recommended in the RFP. All right, moving forward, you can keep scrolling down. There'll be all kinds of recommendations, a new website, how the social media will be looking, how do you do the newsletters, and how do you frame them and stuff. Colors. Right now, you weren't here for that discussion. Our logo is a seal, which is a no-no in the marketing communications world. A seal is supposed to be reserved for citations, diplomas, proclamations, all those kinds of things to keep it strong. You don't use it for everything. It should carry all the water. So creating a logo for the district will be the options that we'll be doing. And the typefaces. All of that will be spelled out in terms of the suggestions that they're going to be giving us. It's, tactical items, the timeline, all of that will be recommended. So we're looking for this big giant proposal with lots of great stuff in it. That'll be amazing. Project goals are simple: clarify and enhance GPPS's image and reputation. So clarify, we're not building an image. Get that out of your mind. We're not building an image. We're simply clarifying what we know, who we are. That's all we're doing here. And then showcasing our distinctive characteristics. We have charm, so we wanted to showcase that. Establishing our target audience personas and apply those market research insights to help us improve how do we reach out and increase and sort of get back some of those 2,000 students we lost, as well as bringing other families outside the district to us, as well as capturing those students who have left the district and are still here and bringing them in. Demonstrate that we have a distinctive competitive advantage over other entities and options, in that we're a superb choice for families seeking an excellent, relevant, and comprehensive education. And this is where you talked about Troy and Novi, and go to all of them, and I don't think they're walkable. And some of them aren't as influent as we are, and some of them aren't mature as we are, and a lot of them aren't as safe as we are. So you combine all of those things, that gives us a distinct advantage. Walkable, affluent, mature, and safe communities.
Our schools are not truly walkable. Just to be, if we're gonna put an RFP out there, the schools are not walkable, so I caution putting that in there. Are they truly all walkable, given the closure of the other two schools?
Yeah.
I just want to, because back to what you had said, I don't want smoke and mirrors.
Sure.
So, and then do we really want this RFP to have the word affluent in there?
I agree with that.
Yeah. That really worries the heck out of me, because going back to the top of the RFP, which I gave feedback on, I love the history of our community. But do we know how many people in the community grew up here? I have such respect for that, but there's a wave of people who come here with no ties to the points, but they love it. And I feel as if the beginning of the RFP excludes those folks a little bit. Because if I had known that was the vibe before I moved in, I probably would have thought they don't want me here, because I didn't grow up here. So I just don't want our RFP to reflect that. I like a little exclusivity with excellence in terms of education, but I just don't want it to be so far reaching, because the biggest caution to me is that they're affluent and,
So I have a question.
Yeah.
Then if, on the Michigan, there's a Michigan website that, and it's actually, and it's also stated in our master plan for Grosse Pointe Farms. The Grosse Pointes are known as premier residential communities. Premier. So, I'm not so convinced that the word affluent, this is an affluent community, right?
It is.
So we should not.
If you look at the average income for each of those points, and in fact, you have to factor in Harper Woods too. If you look at all of those factors, it's more than.
So if that's true.
I would agree with that.
Right, if it's true, could we have another word for affluent
Use premier.
then?
Yeah,
Where's a good word?
Yeah,
Premier.
because we have
Premier,
only at least
yeah.
one, we used to have, I think, 2 Title I schools, right?
Thank you. Yeah, I think it's, and, okay, I'm glad you said Title I, because the Title I distinction gives stuff to the school district because of that Title I distinction, that people often forget. And so that's why I have an issue with the word affluent. And there are a lot of families in our community who are very, just.
Yeah, and let's talk about walkable, so it's less walkable after the two schools, yeah.
Can I just jump in?
Yeah.
Does the word affluent, and I do like premier, but does the word affluent have to mean money too? Like, I mean, it could have many different meanings
I'm
to
with
it.
you on nuance, but I love the term call a spade a spade. When you put affluent in the RFP about a district and people know of Grosse Pointe, it looks like, oh, Grosse Pointe, you have to have money to live there. And historically, with the, again, being with, I have stories about the points with my family and what it was like when they hung out with the auto executives and they weren't an auto executive because I'm from a blue collar family. So maybe that's why it's so emotional for me, because I also live in the woods and I love my home, but I can give you a boatload of friends who live in the woods who don't feel connected to the points. I can name you at least 60. So that's why that word, it means a little bit.
Trust me, I do not come from a fluid background, so trust me about that.
That is why that word emotionally struck me,
Yeah.
because I have a lot of different friends in the points.
Right.
And that, I don't wanna, I like Premier, I did use Premier, just so we can.
You tested me on the spelling of premier, by the way.
Yes.
I'm like, is there an Indian? No.
Yeah, premiere with the E means first time like a movie.
Got it.
Yes.
Thank you.
I have a comment. So I don't think we need to define ourselves here.
They're gonna
This is
define-
up to them
Yeah,
to
this
find
is
out
for
what our
them.
strengths are.
This isn't for the
I'm not
public.
sure that we need to say what our strengths
You're
are.
right, you're right. We could just eliminate that. It's just for them to read. This is not for the public. We don't have to really wordsmith everything here.
But the public will see this
The public,
naturally,
this will be public.
it'll be publicly viewable.
Yeah.
It'll be publicly viewable, but it's really for those vendors to respond. So we could eliminate that and just put in premier communities, and that'd be fine.
I mean, just because this RFP will come back, and then, once we select this firm, then they will conduct the research.
They're gonna
So there will
conduct
be
research.
opportunities for us to certainly assist and guide in their discovery that will get us to the same place, but obviously, this is a polarizing choice of words, so less maybe
They're
more.
gonna be meeting with us.
Yeah, 11.
They'll talk with us.
But the community is mappable though, I will say.
Yeah. All right, want to move on?
Ted, I'm
Yeah,
sorry,
go ahead.
I have one thing, you wanna go through the whole thing and then we'll add our
No,
comments?
come back, yeah.
In the very first paragraph, you need to change it to see, it says, It should say in a portion of Harbor Woods.
Close proximity.
The
Go
very
all the way
first
up.
paragraph, all the way up.
Yeah.
And then when you go through the document, you need to pick, either call it the district or call it GPPS, because you're bouncing back and forth.
It's okay too, that's fine, because they're both the same thing.
And we define it at the
And we
top.
find it right here, yeah, GPS or district, that's fine,
Okay.
yeah, we're fine with that.
That should say 66,400 students.
Yeah.
Also,
walk-
could
this is a school
could
should
we
go in.
revisit the word walkable? Because many of the schools are,
Yes,
right?
yeah, like I think the whole communities are walkable, we walk and bike everywhere, but not all the schools are
Right.
walkable.
So maybe rephrase it to close proximity.
The walkable community.
That is
Oh,
true.
I
But
love
the
that,
schools
walkable
aren't. Yeah,
community.
walkable community by the school.
Okay, you could say in premier and walkable communities. If that, if you feel better or more comfortable with that, that's fine.
Ted, 6,000 students, Richard said we lost 2,000 students. What time period have we lost 2,000 students?
Correct me if I'm wrong, Sean, but 2016 to 2023.
Like, that's a big part of the equation too, that maybe the branding
Yeah,
committee should.
understand, most districts lost students during COVID.
Right.
That, it happened to every school district, they lost them, but a lot of them came back, or most of them came back.
Our percentage was
But
larger.
in general,
Double.
enrollment's down all over the state of Michigan.
Exactly,
That's correct.
But 25% of your students?
probably not.
Probably not.
And then we also should define, I know we can't do it now, of the 2,000 that are gone over time, how many can we actually physically count back? Meaning how many of those are school
Attrition,
age?
how
Yeah.
much is attrition, how much
Right,
is
thank you.
they have an opportunity to come back to our district?
Thanks, Jordan, that's better way to say it.
I mean, that's a big part
Yeah.
of defining what the
I have a ballpark number.
challenges.
Okay,
It's approximately 500.
500
A
what?
little bit, there's a little bit less than 500 students available for us that are no longer, that are not attending, that are school age.
Is that from the Plant Moran study?
That is from Umetrics. They're the company that hosts our transparency reporting.
And so that's in the district, that's in the community now, but that doesn't include families outside the community.
Correct.
So again, we're not just talking to inside, this is not just about new student enrollment, this is about branding, which is huge, like this, which will include new student enrollment, which will include current enrollment, it'll include, talking to students and families outside of our district to come here as a community.
And just to put a finer point, people who would opt to move here for the district, so as part of selling the community.
Same reasons we all chose to move in.
Right.
But
I
Brian, that
moved
doesn't
here because of the
include
school.
kids in private school,
That does include kids. That's all students.
all students.
Yeah, we're 92%. 92% of the students that, or 93. There's 93.3% of the students that can go to Grosse Pointe do. Which
So
is
the Plant
way
Moran
above
study
that.
shows 68%.
I'm sorry?
The Plant Moran study shows 68%.
68, well, I'm not familiar with that study. I'm quoting the numbers off the Umetrics website, is what I'm quoting from.
Might be different
Exactly,
times
exactly.
though, are you looking at the same time period? Flint Moran study was done, what, at least a year ago?
Yeah, 1 year ago.
A year ago.
They saying that we're only 60%?
68%.
68%? We're showing 90.
It's a big discrepancy.
Yeah.
It's a way different number. I mean, this could be inaccurate.
Can we meet in the middle?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Average.
Maybe Sean, you could send the,
Well, I think that we're about to do another Plant Moran study because their last study showed 86%, which is not correct because what they were showing was all students that were also registered with other public schools. They had 300 at Berkeley. So we do need to run down the source of truth on this.
Well, that would be part of it.
so, again, the BRAIN campaign measurable objectives, not the new student enrollment measurable objectives, are to increase our stakeholder visibility, awareness, perceptions, feelings, as measured by annual surveys. Increase new students and overall enrollment. So that's new students, that's students that we currently don't have, and then current students in overall enrollment. So, increase the retention of current students that we have, so making sure that students and their families who are here are not leaving because they're feeling bad about the district. Increase the return of students who have left the district who are still here and have graduated. Increase alumni participation and overall district fundraising. and then increase the net promoter score, which I think you gave.
Mhm. I'm just very keen to folks asking for measurement and statistics, and that's a good, NPS is a good way to
And we will ask
get
that.
some, would you agree with that?
Absolutely.
And so we will put that in the scope. And so also, scope of services, so we're asking them to do a lot of research, comprehensive research, deep research. We're asking them to give us recommendations on how we can increase and improve this campaign to become a rallying point for everyone in the district. Both stakeholders, who are all of us, families, teachers, students, parents, all of us, and the community at large, and those who are really have, you know, the sort of skin in the game. I work with the superintendent and the district leaders to recommend effective marketing and branding strategies and tactics, and a comprehensive brand campaign for the coming school year. And then we're looking for a proposed budget and a recommendation for the campaign. We included this money. There was several of you who strongly felt that we should do that. We've had discussions about it. We went back and forth and we decided, yes, we should include this. So we're not wasting anyone's time. If they want to give us a proposal for $200,000, we're clearly stating that we're not interested in your proposal. And then we're also saying that the execution of the brand is not included in this proposal. So we are not looking for you to give us a proposal for $30,000 and execute this campaign, because that's not part of this proposal.
Is there a way you could call that out a little larger, just so it's like at the bottom, it's kind of hidden, nothing's bolded?
Sure.
Just so
You can make
it's
it
like
bold.
in your face.
Yeah. You want to bold that whole paragraph?
Or I would even make it its own section.
Or its own section, yeah.
Yeah.
Instead of scope of services, we'll call it,
We'll do scope of services.
yeah, no, I'm
Eat
saying
for
call it something
services.
different.
Yeah.
5,
I can just say note, I can.
yeah,
Yeah, just
I can
put a
special
note.
note or
Yes,
something, yeah.
just because the way it's
Sure.
framed now, it looks like it's hidden in there.
We don't want it
And,
hidden.
yeah, we don't want it hidden, we want
Yeah.
people to know.
We'll put some lights around it and letters.
Yes, exactly.
Ted, on the interim superintendent thing, you probably want to change that to central administration, because by the time this is cashed in, we might have a new superintendent.
Better.
Sure. Okay. So central administration instead of superintendent.
Yeah, would you like just all of this?
District, yeah, maybe district leaders. So that would be the implementation of it. And then do you wanna, there you go, okay. Is that okay? Yeah. All right, thank you. And then the rest of it is key brand and terminology. If it's not for the sort of the firm, it's just sort of for us and the firm. So again, there's a lot of people that define brand a lot of different ways. I've got a lot of textbooks that define it different ways. I shortened it to this one sentence with 5 words. This to me is the essence of a brand campaign, is how you make people feel. And that's it. That's the essence of a brand. And then the rest of these are sort of from my textbooks and from the sort of real world and real life, and how these words need to be interpreted
This is good, this is useful.
throughout the process. Yeah, it just kind of frames the discussion. It helps us understand the kind of the words that are in the RFP, and same kind of language that we're gonna have with the chosen company. So they're understanding what we mean and how we approach this sort of language. Language matters, so important in this process. Again, what we wanna do is just give them enough so they can do their research. They can come back with different proposals, and then we can evaluate those proposals. Those proposals will be evaluated numerically. We will have our numerical sheets for you. So we will be very strategic and very pinpointed in how we determine what is the best proposal from the best firm. And this will be a very strategic and very thoughtful process that we'll all contribute to.
And just so this group knows, we're just seeing about 5 pages of this. This is the meat and potatoes of
Can we say kale in the ball? I'm a vegetarian.
okay, sure thing. Kale in the what?
Kale in the ball.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you.
The rest is just a lot of legal jargon that happens after that. So it would be about, I think, 32 pages total, but the first 5 pages is.
And you have consulted with your attorney,
Correct,
and
yes.
the attorney's approved the language
Yep.
in this.
Which attorney did you use, Chris?
Dana Abrams.
Yeah, I was gonna say, so there are questions though, right? Usually when you respond to an RFP, there's questions.
Yes,
So those,
we talked about that, all the questions are gonna come to Chris.
Yep.
So if they come to me, if they come to Sean or anyone else in the committee, send them to Chris. Chris takes all the questions, and then he'll
oh,
send them.
no, I didn't mean that. Yeah, that's,
Yes.
you
okay.
definitely want that too, but no, I'm saying when you go to respond to the RFP,
Correct.
there's usually a series of questions,
Yep.
like list past clients, what's
Yep,
your,
that's
who
all
are
part
the
of
key
the-
people?
We have those,
It's
so we've got
on-
about 6 attachments that people need to
Okay.
include in there. And so, for example, we do have a sheet that's preferably K-12 references, your past clients, everything like that.
One thing that I would call out too is, because I've spent a lot of time with RFPs for a short period of time, is I would ask the agency to list all their current clients
We do.
and clients within the last 2 years. Because sometimes they do a little,
Yeah.
they spin it a
Yeah,
little
yeah,
bit,
sure,
where it's like,
sure.
Yeah,
oh,
I think we said within the
what,
past 3 years.
and what deliverables are, what have you done for them? Because I have seen RFPs from agencies,
Sure.
either ones like BoE or ones that I've been involved with in other ways, where they list every person, it's like, okay, but your experience with that was you updated somebody, like you.
You had coffee with the CEO and then you put their logo on your.
Yeah, exactly, and it's not.
We had that in Grosse Pointe where some company puts our logo on there, we're like, hold on.
Yeah,
Michelle, it's in there.
It's in there, okay.
It's way more comprehensive than you think.
Okay.
Yeah.
We have like,
We can't
have you
show it
been,
all.
yeah, have you been in,
We have too many
bankruptcy?
restrictions to
Have
show
you,
it all.
had a client that's fired you? All those kind of questions.
Okay,
A million
good.
questions in there, yeah, we've asked we've got a lot of
Yeah,
questions.
we
don't wanna show the whole thing
Right.
to other people.
But also, for the procurement process, do you need to identify the lowest bidder at the end of the day? Or is this the rubric that we're gonna be establishing that will be a point system, so there's going to be criteria
I'm
that.
really
Because it's
having a hard time
service.
there. Guys, I really have a hard time hearing this.
I'm sorry.
I apologize, but it's hard to hear two conversations.
I'm just curious about the procurement process. and
Yeah,
what
so
action criteria.
because it's a service, I don't believe you have to in this situation. Normally, if it's equipment or something along those lines, you would have to in this situation.
What was the question? I'm sorry, I couldn't hear.
She said with procurement, do we have to identify the lowest bidder?
Yeah, or
Yes.
if it's a rubric that we establish
says
based
yes.
upon.
Yes.
We
Or
don't
even
have to
with
go
the
with the lowest
service.
bidder.
No, but you don't have to go.
Yeah, we don't have to go
with
with the lowest bidder.
Okay, thank
But
you.
you do have to list the bidder.
So, this whole thing is about feeling, how it makes you feel. According to Brian, we had 8,300 students in this district 10 years ago. So 2,300 kids and their families have left this district in the last decade. That's 2,300 stories, times their family members going out in the community saying how they feel about why they left the district. Some people left for this, some people left for that, but they left. This feeling is so important on how you get this back. And it is crucial that we find this messaging or this clarifying of who we are, because now this might be a question for Plant Moran or whoever, but I mean, that's 1 out of every 4 students have left this district in a decade. That is 20.
But can we
Hold on,
also?
does that mean that they left?
Yeah, we need to
Yeah.
put some contextualization around that data, because there has been a population decline of all children, of all of school age. So we need to make sure that we normalize that data across what's happening in the United States and the overall population. I just wanna make sure we're not
Fair
being
enough.
overly inflammatory about
Fair enough, United
2,300
States.
students
What about
departing.
the 5 or 6 premier districts in the state, in the region, let's say?
But which could also build homes and have more real estate to.
Yeah.
My favorite word in this district is nuance, and I don't think it's used enough. Nuance of a community, nuance, like, my parents to this day give me crap that I didn't move to Utica. Every single week when
Yeah.
they come down here, why did you move down here, the houses are sold. Every day, no joke.
Yeah.
Sunday dinner, they come over, and my dad's looking at the corner of the house, and he's placing a brick someplace. But now they know me, they know why I'm here. But the nuance of places to build new homes, different types of homes. I've driven out to Novi, or is it Northville? They're building apartments and condos. We don't have the space for that. Our senior citizens don't have many places to live here. the joke where I live in the woods, as soon as a ranch goes on the market, a senior citizen purchases
Yeah.
it. Because there's no place for them to go and they want to be close to family. So I think we have to think about the nuance, and I think this committee has the intelligence to throw that into the branding piece, because we don't want it to be inflammatory. And I know from what I've learned, there's amazing history and legacy here with GPA families and Liggett families, and what's that school in Detroit off of Livernois? U of D. A lot of legacy families here, I'm learning, go there out of legacy and history. That's nuance.
Yeah.
So how do we but you're right, but how do we weave all those stories together and have the reality check of why folks left? Because when people say 2,000 folks left, I have this image of the redcoats coming in from Britain and people fleeing their towns, and it's not that. So I want us to be careful with how that's presented to our neighbors.
Fair
And let's
enough.
research it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
fair enough. I think it should be considered, obviously, in conjunction with
That's a big number.
the Catholic schools and the private schools having
Yeah.
record enrollment in our area. Those kids live here. So
Totally.
it's just,
It's an important audience.
Can I just, I wanna add to that, because while I agree with you, I just also think there are people from other communities that moved here, who had families that went to legacy schools, and we chose not to go to a legacy school, we chose to move to Grosse Pointe.
Yeah.
So just because that happened, that doesn't mean that we should just write those people off, we still have that opportunity.
Oh, I never said write them off.
No, I'm just saying, like, no, I didn't mean to infer that. I meant, like, I think we acknowledge that we have these nuances,
Mhm.
but I still think that those students are available.
Agreed, 100% agree, 100%.
So I could just, that's not a new student enrollment campaign, that's not the title. Look at the title of this committee, it's the branding.
But that's what we were discussing.
I understand,
Right.
Yeah.
and that's a big part of the discussions that have been going around the table, but it's much bigger than new student enrollment. New student enrollment will be an outgrowth of all of these things that we increase. If we create a new student enrollment campaign and the teachers are still leaving in droves, and they don't wanna be here because of whatever reason, that's gonna reflect on the brand, it's gonna reflect on the number of families wanting to move in here, it's gonna reflect on new student enrollment, it's gonna reflect on current enrollment. We have to make all of those changes to the district, verify our brand, and to make people feel better. We have to make the teachers feel better, we have to make the students feel better, we have to make the parents feel better, we have to make everyone around this table feel better about this district. And you might feel good, and you might have some reservations. We wanna sort of address all of that through these dialogues. And we're gonna have the kind of serious, deep dialogues through this process that we need to get to a place where we're going to be on that path to increase not only positive feelings, but all of our numbers and all of our metrics. So again, we're looking at very serious metrics on improving everything about this district. We want in those surveys, we want in those focus groups, we want in those one-on-ones for people 1 year from now to feel so much better about where they're at today. And I've seen it done, and I've seen it done at a different level, at a different sort of educational district, a university. It doesn't matter if it's a university, it doesn't matter if it's a K through 12 district. It will happen here in Grosse Pointe that we will change and significantly improve the perceptions in Grosse Pointe through this process. There's no question that's gonna happen.
So
Thank
I'll
you, Sean.
keep the RFP going. The RFP's done, it's ready.
got a couple of edits, we gotta put some dates in there. but,
Okay,
yeah.
you wanna go through the date now, the timeline that we talked about?
Yeah, and I apologize, I don't have it in front of me. When we were talking, we were thinking,
5 weeks,
yeah, I think we
and then
went
go
to
through the
6,
end of
right?
December 31st. And then January 6th, when we get back, we would have January 4th or 6th, somewhere on there, we would have the RFPs due. I don't know why I'm not all these days. But we have the RFPs due, and then we, as a committee, would come back after January, and we would review those RFPs, those proposals with the rubrics, and we would have discussions around the table, serious discussions around the table about who has the best proposal, and it could be, you like something here, and you like something here, and you like something here, but which company do you feel best about? And then we could decide, and this is what I would recommend, have the companies that we choose to come in and present their proposals to us. So it could be the top 3 of 17 proposals that we receive. We like these 3, we want them to come in, we want them to stand right over there and up at the board and go through the entire proposal and share with us their thinking about how we can improve every aspect of this district.
And we have time to review those. Like a
We'll
couple
have
weeks.
lots, yeah, we'll have time, yeah, we won't rush this. This process is so incredibly important to the district and our future that we will make sure that we have time. That's why we're giving it 6 weeks for the companies to respond, and that's why we're giving them another 4 weeks, 5 weeks to respond.
And so this will probably drop next Tuesday or Wednesday, I think.
Yeah, I think we mentioned we could probably put it out on the street on
Wednesday, yeah.
And then we put it out to, we posted it on the website and we put it through a program that we have called Sigma, which kind of like alerts people, hey, we're out there. But, you know, by all means, if anybody knows any other entities out there, to let them know to please take a look at our website that's there.
Where do you find that on the website, Chris? What page would you go to?
We have a spot, Brian would know, there's a little tab on there that says bids, bid openings.
It's also published in the newspaper.
Under families?
We generally do publish it.
Yeah, so we're gonna publish it in North Point News.
PRSA has they have some kind of thing.
So we're posting
Where you can put it out there and
but the page actually.
I would ask you if you could send me an email of some other spots, because
Yeah, so it's-
generally we always go through our government entities that way, but yeah, in this situation, to be able to, you know, let the firms that need to know about it know.
There are 3 groups,
For sure.
main groups, PRSA, there's IABC, which is International Association of Business Managers, and American Marketing Association. Those are the 3 that we should have.
Chris, this is a tall ask, but I really think that when an agency is chosen to really understand the district, they have to watch or see some highlights of board meetings and understand some of the crux of these discussions, even during COVID. And I don't do anything like expecting the agency to watch all the board meetings, but is it possible, are our board meetings transcribed or summarized?
They're on the web, they're a big issue.
I know, I watch them when I fold laundry, when I can't do meetings. But is there a way, like a post-fact, like a table of contents, that we could even point to this agency to, here are some BoE meetings with important decisions, you should, like I think about the ones for teachers spoke.
Yeah,
We
I
have
would not,
meeting minutes everywhere.
yeah, I wouldn't do that, I would let them find it, because if they're
I
interested, they
agree.
won't find it,
Yeah.
because then you're really sort of.
Yeah.
That's a lot of
Yeah,
Yeah.
it'd be like saying, oh, you wanna go to our social media and this, here's the Facebook.
Yes.
You wanna be very specific, and I hear your suggestion, and I think it's
How
fine.
easy
They
is it
should.
to access the meeting minutes and put them in something?
Meeting minutes aren't gonna disclose all the conversations from residents. It'll disclose
The votes.
quotes,
Purely has the votes.
highlights, but if you wanna look at, what happened at a meeting on whatever date and see who spoke, that's a totally different ballgame than board minutes. Board minutes do not have to reflect every word that people say
Right.
at the end of the
Legal
meeting.
technical.
That's
Right,
right.
even like takeaways of like discussion, I'm just thinking about, to look at the essence of the history of the district, that's kind of where you get a lot of it.
That's what residents do.
Right, but that's a lot
Residents
of.
do a deep historical dive.
I don't know if
It's up to
watch
them
all
to
the
do it.
meetings and-
Some might do it, some might not, but so that, you know, we want to spoon feed them too much. We have with this process.
I mean, honestly, so in our district, not only do we have the meeting minutes on there, we have every single board meeting that can be viewed in that way. And so, I mean, I think if they wanna take that deep dive, it's all there for
And
them.
there's committees, meeting minutes, and the keyboard minutes they want.
No, not all subcommittees have detailed minutes.
Right, but the regular committees.
Most of them don't.
No, we're required to
Not
post
all
the agenda,
Correct.
but we're not, you know.
Can I go back to the questions again that are in the RFP? Are we asking people to submit like work samples or examples or that kind of thing? Are
Yes.
there like case studies in there?
Yes, if they have them, most of them, but yeah, we ask them.
References? Yeah, references, I know they mentioned.
References there, yeah,
Yep.
yeah. We do a lot of deep dives in terms of their history, if they ever filed bankruptcy, you know, the money side, it's a lot of work.
Okay, if anybody else wants to provide an elevator pitch, just, please send it to Dr. Stanley and myself. What else? That's That's it. So we're gonna post this RFP next week. We'll have it online for anybody here who wants to send it to anybody they know.
Be in the newspaper,
Yep.
and the website. Should we put it on our social media?
Yes,
I think we should.
I think we should.
I mean, what we'll do is we would just direct them to our website.
Right, just right, okay, just that we have this. And then, Michelle, how do you want me to do the three, or do you want to do the three, or I can do the three? American Mart Association, PSA, or IABC, in terms of contacting them. I've got contacts in
Yeah,
all three of them.
well, so locally, I'm a committee member of PRC Detroit,
Okay.
but PRC National, he has something,
Yeah.
like a totally separate thing, and
Yeah.
we can send it over
Okay,
there.
I'll take care of IABC and EMA.
Okay.
You take care of PRC.
Okay.
And I'll just clarify too, just from a district standpoint sort of thing, if there are any questions from any companies, please direct them my way. It can only be in the form of an email. We cannot take phone calls or anything like that. There will be a pre-proposal meeting that will have that date that's on there, so that we're able to answer those questions. Ted, I would obviously lean to you to be the person to answer those things. But no, generally, all of the questions would just come into email form for us.
There's a reason for that. So the reason for that is, let's say a
We want it to
vendor
be
asks a
fair.
question and gets that answer, and that helps them with a competitive.
Give somebody a leg up, yeah.
Right, they get a leg up. So we give all of the questions back to all of the vendors and the answers that we give them, so they all have a level playing field. No signs stolen.
Is that a call?
Enough of that.
Mandatory? Because I know I've seen some RFPs where you cannot submit for the RFP unless you attend that call.
No, the call is not mandatory. I had to think for a second what you meant by that. No, it is not mandatory for them to be there, but at the same time, we will then still take all of the questions and we will put it into a form.
Chris, you're putting that requirement that they be submitted by email in the RFP.
Correct.
Thank you.
By the time, and if they come a minute after that time, it's.
Yeah, Ahmed specifically was asking about the questions, though.
Yes.
Yeah, there's a specific thing. It has my email address on there.
Thank you.
Okay, any comments from any members of the committee?
I'd answer that for you, sure. I'd be happy to, if that's okay with you. So it's an investment in the future of the district. If you look at the Plant Moran projections, we're gonna continue to lose students. We're gonna continue to have these sort of feelings about the district that we have currently. So if we don't address those, we're sort of on a path that's bad. So that $30,000, let's say that pays for one teacher, right? But then we don't do anything with branding. This committee is not qualified to do the branding campaign as a company would do in recommendations that specialize in branding. So you're paying for their expertise and their level of recommendations and their ability to do this successfully for other school districts. So it's not just about new student enrollment, it's about everything in the district. And to get that for $30,000 is really a small chunk of change to pay for. Let's say we get 3 students, an additional, that's $10,000 per student. That's $30,000. That's not the purpose of the campaign. But the campaign will pay for itself many folds over based on where we're gonna be years from now, and the number of rewards we'll have in terms of better feelings of students, teachers. So it's that whole comprehensive, it's not focused in on new student enrollment. It's focused in on making people feel better about the district, and that's a hard number to put on. I mean, for $30,000, that's really a low amount of money to make that thing happen. Think about our district is $100 million, and we're spending a paltry $30,000 to make all stakeholders feel a little better to a lot better about the district.
But to let you know, there are community members who did volunteer to do it at no cost. I had to let you know that. That did come about, and that's changed. That was an initial.
Yeah.
As a community member, I need to share that with you, that was feedback as well, that people did step up, 15 people to do this work at no cost. So that was as a student, because I have a daughter almost your age, I had to share that with you, that did happen.
So I can share with you.
I heard that too, that's why I had this exact question.
Yeah, and I got those questions too.
It's a great question.
So, here's my answer that I've given out on social media and to people that have asked me, including the person I'm married with. So why not just have a group of people just do it? Well, we don't do that at the district. If we're going to do a cement job, we don't have 15 people randomly selected from the district to come in and do a cement job. We don't have 15 people randomly selected to do a roofing job. Now, the 15 people have expertise in doing it, but those 15 people are not like a professional company that's coming in with the responsibility. They're volunteers doing it. They're not being paid. They could easily flake off or leave or somehow not be able to finish the job. There's no nothing tying them in. There's no cost to tying them in. They're doing it as a volunteer. So it's like a service that the district has, and the district pays, I don't know how many tens of millions of dollars in carpentry, in cement work, and roofing, and all of the different trades. This is like that, and that's with specific expertise that you pay for. And again, $30,000 of a $100 million budget is really a tiny amount to do what we're asking you to do.
They also bring a more objective approach because they're not connected with the district. They're, they're seeing it as outsiders, whereas we might be more likely to
Have the emotional
bias.
Yeah,
That's a huge
definitely.
thing.
Yes, but that is a great question, and I am just so proud of you two, just
Yeah.
being on this committee, I could never do that. So, very proud to have you two. But question/comment, is the Plant Moran data available for us to review at all? And does that include people who graduated who left the district?
Which data?
The ones that they were just discussing?
No, in fact, we've been talking to Plant Moran to get an update
Okay.
on enrollment.
Mhm.
There's old data and there's different definitions of what's included in public schools, so we have to redefine those. We can also get data that shows the statewide decline in enrollment, the Wayne County decline in enrollment, and we can get all that data, but it needs to be updated. We're gonna be working on that in the next couple months.
And we're gonna tie them in with this new metrics data as well, right?
Just like a quick little thing we did here, like hardly data dive, but the metrics, the data comes from the Center for Educational Performance and Information, CPI, also the Michigan Student Data System, so MSDS. So the state of Michigan pooling all of that data collectively, which is from our website, transparency.
Like was mentioned, if you define a student a certain way, it changes the numbers completely.
Exactly.
Mhm.
So
Makes a big difference.
So, but the thing I found interesting, because I hadn't personally dived into private or not attending, attending, and we were able to kind of look briefly at the data. So Canton has 82% of the kids that could attend, Novi 95, Troy 96.7, Birmingham 93.8, Bloomfield 94%, Grosse Pointe 93.3, Northville 94, Rochester 94.3. So it's interesting because the kids that go elsewhere as listed and they could attend the schools, the numbers were pretty comparable with, is there any school I left off though from that data that we considered like schools?
Saline, Ann Arbor, Northville, Forest Hills, East Grand Rapids.
That, when we just looked briefly, didn't have that, but if you
Those are
use,
the peer districts.
yeah, but if you use, yeah,
Okemos.
after Okemos, okay, cool. Then we can probably pop into that and just kind of.
Well, you gotta get that from Plant Moran. Immunetrics is a work to you on that.
Yeah.
Troy.
Zealand, okay.
It should be a rep on at this point, because they come up.
Yeah, but that was just interesting. I mean, it's obviously, what is it, but it is the state.
Yeah, but
reporting,
But it's,
you know.
it's different,
Very
it's,
different.
you're not comparing apples to apples.
Right.
Mhm.
Right.
So you need to make sure, once the definitions are defined, then that's why you
What
have
is
some more
that?
time.
Yeah. Mhm.
Right, and if it's a very small segment of the information that you need to make that decision.
And one of the numbers that we don't have a hold of, and no districts do, is homeschoolers. And there was an article in the Washington Post just last week that the numbers nationwide are up everywhere on homeschooling. Though the state does not reflect homeschooling numbers at all.
Is that the same, would that be the same metric as, there's a really popular virtual school in the state? If somebody went to the virtual school here in Michigan, would that be not defined as a homeschool?
No, I believe so.
Okay.
Yes.
There's a popular one out west, I forgot what city, a lot of kids went to. Was it a
Well,
virtual
Berkeley
school?
had a big program in 21-22 as well.
Okay, but that's not a homeschool situation.
That I don't
That's
know.
interesting, okay.
But we do get homeschoolers that can come to Grosse Pointe, and they'll take orchestra. And that's 1/7 of, we get 1/7 of that $10,000. But we have no idea what that total number now is, because it used to be, the state would give you a report on homeschoolers, because they had to register and do all sorts of stuff. That's not true now. So we have no clue how many homeschoolers in Grosse Pointe are homeschooling.
Where does that funding follow then? If I homeschool my kid?
Well, they don't get any funding.
Right. They don't?
No.
Okay.
They only get funding, or we get funding if they take a class
One
at
class.
Grosse
Okay,
Pointe
yeah.
School or 2 classes or whatever.
But then you're reporting them somehow and then.
Yeah,
That's
we
what
just
funding-
want to, we have to report that in our fall account.
It's been one thing, done that.
All right. Now, anybody else? We are adjourned.